Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Happy Bringling. Once again, thank you very much for coming on this show, Bringle Talks, where we are going to talk about a very important initiative called Design Your Unicorn, and where we are working towards solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and business owners to help them sustain, adapt, and scale up their ventures right from an idea to a unicorn. And today, with us, we have a very, very special guest, Priyanka, who is going to, who has just got a funding, a seed funding from Venture Catalyst, and she's working and supporting so many businesses and startups right now to make them investable. And would be really, happy and glad to ask her about her journey, what she's trying to build for the startup ecosystem, and how she's helping 700 plus startups as of now. Thank you, Priyanka, for joining, and over to you.
Thank you so much for this introduction, Anshav, and having me here today to share my journey. I hope after 5 minutes,
Priyanka,
people.
sorry to cut you there. Your laptop version is coming up, so you'll have to probably disconnect your audio of your laptop, or just disconnect it from the laptop.
So, isn't it fine? Like if I'm doing it from laptop? I think because I have
come up. The video will not come up.
Okay. Give me a moment. I'll just connect it again with my.
Or Anshav, you can just kick the laptop version from the Zoom.
I can do that.
Okay, now you only have the mobile.
Yeah, but is she able to talk? Are you connected with your mobile version, Priyanka, on your audio? No, not yet. Yes, you are now. Perfect. This sounds perfectly fine. This sounds good.
Great. Yes. So what I was saying that thank you so much for having me and giving me an opportunity to share my experiences, my journey so far, and thank you for your wishes, Anshav, that you gave me regarding the fundraising. Yes, we are definitely totally aligned towards helping millions of founders across globe now with those funds where we can make them pitch ready, right? So talking about my journey at Easy to Pitch, as the name says, we are just made up to make founders pitch ready whenever they are going for their next pitch. Now earlier it was just fundraise, but now it's just not fundraise. It's about every solution that a B2B market requires when they are making a sales deck, or they're making a sales pitch to the customers and close, and helping them to understand the product and services. So hence we are growing, right? So to introduce Easy to Pitch, we are a platform for founders where we make founders pitch ready with a collateral solution. And now we are an AI-based platform where any founder can come and use the dashboard for their journey to make themselves fundable with the tools, automated tools that we are providing with the artificial intelligence and many more, technology. Right. So I started this, 4 to 5 years back. My first entrepreneurial, start was from my college days when I was, totally not into studies and I wanted to do something of my own. Right. And then I created this platform, Cheapest and Nearest, where, it was a vendor listing platform. Right. I, as a founder, faced a lot of struggle, in when it comes to raising fund, having no mentors around, no such network that could guide you how to go towards that journey and be ready for that, right? So I ensured that I went door to door to investors, grasped whatever the best I could without having any money for it, right? And eventually it gave me a sense of understanding that, okay, there is a huge gap. I'm not the only founder for that. There are many, many more founders across the country and the globe that are suffering from this. Even if there in today's date, mentors are available, still the founders face a struggle in finding the right approach or making themselves better, or at least get a feedback from investor that why they are getting rejected, right? Because then they don't have that much, understanding that why anybody is rejecting to them, right? And I understand, investors do not have that much time and space because the competition is huge now, right? So hence Easy to Pitch and me, my co-founder Nikhil, are totally dedicated towards solving that problem through Easy to Pitch. Hence we are focusing in acquiring more and more entrepreneurs, making them ready, making them growing and fundable.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think Priyanka, what I've seen is that, and this is my experience. I've been an entrepreneur for last 7.5 years now, and I always say this. I have actually tried 21 plus ideas in last 21 plus years, and lost 7 plus businesses in last 7 plus years. That's how the analogy goes on for me. Somehow it's matching with the number of years. Uh, the point what I'm trying to say is I think it's one of the very important aspect which you are picking up, because right now it's only less than 1% businesses which are which get its investments, frankly speaking. There are only less than 3% businesses which sustains beyond a 3 years period of time. And that create a big gap into the market. And even after the invested startups, only 10% of them actually succeed. So if you see the eventual success ratio, which I call it as investable, sustainable, and profitable ratio, is becoming less than 0.01%, which is a very low number. And one of the important aspects for every entrepreneur is to ensure the constant inflow of money. Now that will
Correct.
come either through investments, or it will come either through the revenues. And I think you're there in both the segments right now. And you're supporting them in their inflow of the investment as well as inflow of the revenues out there. Now, Priyanka, I would just want to go a little back story for you. You said you started this 4 to 5 years back, and then you started off, and I think you're still very young. And I'm sure when what was the age when you actually started this? And what was your first step, or first thought when you ventured into a startup ecosystem?
Thank you for asking that question, Anshav. So, my entrepreneurial encounters were started when I was 19 in college, right? I
Wow,
just joined my engineering batch, right?
3
And
years
that
older than
and
Ritesh.
I
three
still
years
I really
older
want
than
to share.
Ritesh Agarwal, right?
Yes, yes. My turning point of life was, when I was not going college and I wanted to participate in an event management firm where I'm just standing for 2 days backstage and just coordinating. I got my
Mhm.
first check of 4,000 rupees, and that made me
Wow.
realize that what I'm made for. I don't want all these things, right? I want something where I could create something and make it of my own, right? That was the ideology, but with time it grew better, and I realized that it's about masses and not just about yourself, right? So
Great.
yes, when I started I was young. For easy to pitch, when I started I was just 23. Before that I successfully exited my startup. Before that, that made me learn the basic aspects of financials and investment industry, because I had no godfather, right? My even if my family is into business sector internationally, globally, they're also investors, but I was always like I have to do it on my own, and I was the only girl in the whole family that is something is doing a business, right? So that was a big thing, and a big thing for me, because I learned it for my own self, and I wanted to share that knowledge, and I started helping founders in my network to help that without even charging them. So parallelly I couldn't handle both of the things. So with the guidance of my mentor, they actually bashed me out that, dude, if we are paying more than a lakh to a consultant who is doing this, and you're just doing it for free and at the cost of your time to your another startup. So I started making money out of it, again investing in my another startup. So that was a foolish thing that I did, right? So I then decided and to quit that, exit that, and then start this full-fledgedly as a freelancer. I started. Till now it's like I started alone, then I had a co-founder, then we grew and grew. Now we are a team of 30 people, and we have served more than 1,000 startups. So yes, my entrepreneurial journey has been from a very young age, because it was a clear focus what I want to do and where I want to go. So that is what required, no matter where you are or when you are starting.
Great. So, Priyanka, I think I would want to go a little further and want to talk about your earlier startup, which you started. So, what was that startup all about? How much money you had, invested into that startup? Because it seems to be a bootstrap startup at that point in time, or you had some investors also at that time. And what time and at what valuation you have kind of exited from that startup?
Sure. So I invested my own savings. Actually, I did a job of 2 years because it was a definite ask of my college that you have to do an internship, and that was needed for your scoring. So I joined a firm. That was my first and last thing. I learned a lot of organizational skills there. So I decided to stay back, right? So 2 years I did. I saved good money, And then I invested in making that platform, that application website, acquiring customers, making revenue out of it, and then creating a spreadsheet to be sent across to the, investors, or what do you say, the pitch deck, right? So a girl who was always, closing deal with embassies all over the country found that, the deck that I've created, I got so many of critics, and that was literally foolish critics that I was, mistakes that I've did, right? So that made me realize that I had to do a lot of it. I went underground for 3 months. I made it and I sent it across to the investors, and even the platforms, those that deck which I created, that helped me to get, a lot of recognition, whether it's awards, whether it's even at least a reply from the investor. Earlier the investor even didn't reply, and that gave an urge to the investors to even reply and ask for further due diligence, right? So the valuation was not much. It was a very early stage startup. We made a good closure at 2,500 customers, and then exited it. So I had to close it so that I can start another thing rather than continuing it, right? So I closed it, and then I exited it. I gave it to the credentials to other people, and I moved out of it, and it was eventually closed, right? So this was the whole scenario. But when I talk about once I started dedicatedly easy to pitch, that was a much better option for me as an entrepreneur, right? So hence I came to what I started, right? So valuation, if you're asking about, that was very too early to define the valuations.
Okay, so you basically closed the company and then started easy to pitch rather
Yes,
than selling
I
off
gave up
that
to
and then
someone.
taking a proper exit.
I gave it to someone, and then it was later on closed.
Closed. Okay, fine, got it. Now, I think one important thing which you mentioned that you were not getting any responses from the investors, and you really for your earlier startup, and you then actually started working out or revising your deck, and probably that is one of your inspiration which made you starting this particular initiative called Easy to Pitch. Now, why do you think that pitch deck is so important for investors, and what are the major components which an entrepreneur should look at while reaching out to the investors?
Sure. So what is a pitch deck? Pitch deck is nothing. It's just a way you communicate. It's a medium of communication. It's a very clear thing. No, pitch deck helps you to raise funds, Anshav. It's about what what is you as a founder you are doing, and you're pitching as a startup story more. Because if I'm sitting here, I cannot go with physically. Now they are Zoom, right? Earlier it was not, no Zoom was there that for used for the pitching and all, right? So it was the only medium, of raising funds. But eventually the time changed. Now the pitch deck are not that important as they were before, but ultimately it's important to understand that to raise fund, it's about your potential, your execution, and your growth plans and the returns, not the pitch deck. But what you communicate is really, really important to convince anyone, right? If I'm speaking right now, I'm pitching about easy to pitch, what services I am doing, right? I am communicating on my own. I can send you a deck also, but that should be aligned, and that should be that engaging as equal to as I am talking to you right now, as equal to as the power of engagement that I'm having right now, right? So that capabilities of having that story, that engagement is really, really important to be set on the same document, or as equal as you are pitching, right? So hence pitch deck is definitely important. It's a supporting actor. You understand, there's a movie, there's a lead actor, there's a supporting actor. Pitch deck is a supporting actor, and no movie is happening successful without a supporting actor. So that's definitely important part of the journey, but definitely not the only important part of the journey of raising funds.
Okay. Now, when somebody is preparing a deck for an investor, and you said that you have a platform which supports from AI, and it actually supports the startups to build that pitch deck. What is the kind of AI you have deployed that on the platform, which makes it so convenient and easy for the startup founders to really create that pitch deck, not only for the investors but for the customers as well?
Yes. So this tool is an automated tool, as I said, artificial intelligence. So what is the USP of this tool is it is bringing you a storyline to your presentation. You can go on a PowerPoint, you can make a presentation, but that won't help you to close the deal, right? But if you are using this tool, you are getting a proper automated template. You're just putting the input, and what the system is doing, it's giving you an intake outcome where you are just getting a proper storyline alignment, or after reframing the phrases, the content and everything, you just have to put your thoughts and we are giving it you the thing back, right? This is the core role of that artificial intelligence, where the human efforts get aparted, and it's more of technology, and but a very well defined technology which is making your work easy, and accordingly and parallelly bringing that USP where we easy to pitch exists. If we have done 1,000 startups manually so far, our core USP was to bring that story, that connect, and that expectation that investors look for, to match that expectation. And that expertise and that whole POC, we have brought on this tool where it is an automated thing. It's giving you as an output, you just share your thoughts. That's it. There is no manual intervention. We are doing it for you at the back end. So that's how the algorithms and all are created, and hence AI. It is AI based, right? So in India, definitely it's the first time that something has happened. But I wouldn't deny that internationally, globally, there are more players who are doing this. But what lags is the USP again, which is the story. In the end, what message, what interaction we want to have through that presentation.
Great. So I think at this point in time, I'm sure Navneesh is having lot many questions, in his mind, because he is a perfect storyteller and a marketing guru. So I think before introducing him to you, what I would request is, so I just want to ask one, the last question before I hand it over to Navneesh is, what do you charge for this platform to be used, and who are your other competitors, if you can name them, and what is your price advantage with respect to them, or we call it as unfair advantage with respect to other competitors? Of course, in India it's the first one, but even from an international perspective, there must be some unfair advantage you might be having with you.
Yeah. So number one, the question you asked at what we charge, this is a total SaaS platform. So we have a subscription plan starting from 4,000, 6,000. So we have different plans. Early stage, so early beginner plan, the professional, and then advanced. We are not properly removing the manual thing. It is still intact. So we are ensuring that the most of the early stage startup who are not able to afford this kind of services can go for a SaaS platform and make it easy, and that it would be an easy cost for them, right? But those who actually want a really customized solution, they still want a manual intervention, there is a plan there as well, right, on our platform. So we are merging both our B2B in manual and with the technology, right? So that is one thing. Another thing is that what is the differentiator or entry barrier? I would say that, see, whenever I'm talking of people in India, I would say definitely the differentiator is the team and the executors who are making it a different product altogether from the existing market. But even if not that, so there is a difference between the pricing as well. The quality that we are delivering through IM people, through investment experts, is something which is very costly in the market, and that is the biggest differentiator that we have brought it, where more and more startups can afford. I would say that we have touched all the industries, most of them in India, and all the stages, early, seed, series, even the series we have touched, and we are creating a collaboration with that journey, that they are coming back to us and taking our support towards pitching. So that is something we ensured with all those 1,000 startups. Recently, we started helping founders to raise funds also, and we have a success story in the news also with Haza, $2 million it was around, and. And this is not a primary model, but as investors trust us and want to save their time, they ask, okay, give your best fundable startup, and because they have that trust that they're pitch ready and fundable, right? So that is the scenario. So yes, I would say that if we are on the top in the market right now in India, just because the quality we have delivered, the team of execution, and the story that we have brought up to their startup journey.
Got it. Interesting, interesting. I have really so many follow-through questions, but I just want to request Novnish to kind of come in and give a little introduction about himself and what are the questions coming in his mind, especially from a storytelling of the pitch that is there, or
Yeah, hey
anything that.
Priyanka.
Hi, Navesh.
Thanks, Anshiv. You're right. I do have a lot of questions. I mean, I have a marketing background. So just to introduce a bit about myself to you, I've had more of a decade of experience in marketing and specialized fully in content marketing and strategy right now. And during this experience, I've seen brands, businesses, and individuals face problems with their marketing strategy, especially in growing and attracting clients. So the mistakes they've done and the things to correct it, I've seen it, I've been there.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to make a difference and educate these businesses and brands to really step out and to really grasp the reality and power of content marketing and its impact it can have to generate leads and form meaningful connections. And honestly, I've been successful because I've helped hundreds of brands and businesses and leaders. And these people, they have many names for me: mentor, coach, author, copywriter, blogger, podcaster, strategist. I'm all of that, but I like to call myself just a humble marketeer. And honestly, similarly, I found your profile quite interesting because you do the same kind of thing. I mean, you help startups and founders to build a model or a business plan in the form of a pitch, right, to raise funds, because you've seen that they fail in this aspect. I mean, they may have like an amazing product, a great team, or an idea, but when it comes to pitching in front of the investors or anyone, they face rejections simply because their pitch sucks and they don't know how to convey very well, right?
Right.
So, coming to my questions, you mentioned this pitch deck that you created some time ago and said it didn't go well. You were faced with critiques and people pointed out mistakes to you. What were those critiques and mistakes, if you don't mind sharing it? What was the
Of course,
feedback?
I would always love to share that, Namesh. I always
Yeah,
do that. The most foolish thing I did was, suppose there's a deck and there's an ask slide, right? Because
yeah.
I created three of them, three slides on ask, and one had that I want 300 rupees for every month of my mobile recharge. Can you imagine? I did that. I did that. So it was a proper 25 slide presentation. I was so detailed, and every feeling that I'm having as an ask, I'm putting it right, just like that, and without even being logical towards it. So yeah, that was one of my thing, but I always enjoy sharing it because that has to be real. I realized that, and that made me be where I am today.
That's funny that you mentioned it because when I also speak with business leaders, they immediately talk about the pitch, and they ask me, okay, what is it that needs to go into? I mean, can I say everything that comes to my mind, or what is it that they're looking for? I tell them, look, just keep it to 10 slides and
Correct.
focus on the goal, objective, and how you can solve a problem and bring a solution, and that's
Right.
enough.
Yes.
And honestly, I've seen that you've done quite a lot of things, not just pitching and all that. So currently, coming to your organization that you have right now, what is it that you enjoy in your role the most?
Okay, so what I enjoy the most is seeing my team working in front of me, and I'm able to regulate my life better. Earlier it was more up and downs. You don't get even time to breathe. But
Mm,
as you grow, the best thing is that the things are so structured, so well managed, and the deliverables are happening so well. So there was a time when I started, and this is the time. So it gives me more happiness when I enter my office, and ultimately I get, of course, getting appreciation definitely helps you to motivate all the time. So these are the things that keeps me running and achieving more and more milestones, and making everybody happy around, to be very honest, especially my team.
that's a great quality for a leader, actually. I mean, most people don't realize it. They think it's all them, 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 but it's you growing along with your team and motivating
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And I've talked about the enjoyment. Let's talk about the biggest challenge you faced in your current role. What is that?
So the biggest challenge that I face many a times is, me and Nikhil get on a desk, and then we keep on negotiating whose decision is better, who's not, and that's a good activity to grow. But that is one challenge that I always love to cater. Then of course another challenge is, as we are growing, we it's as I said, the current team is really really nice, right? But as you grow, you get more challenges that you need to deliver things, and then you don't have resources, and you again step into hiring them more and more to get the things done. So the hiring challenge is something which will stay constant. And apart from that, I don't feel if there is any challenge, because I am myself a problem solver. Whenever I'm entering my office, there are 15 people sitting. Every desk I go and ask, okay, tell me your 10 problems, I'll solve it for you. So that is my quality, right? So I don't think apart from that, I consider any of my challenge that big.
All right. Well put. Honestly, these days, organizations, businesses, they all like to focus on the problem first, right? Who you're solving it for and why you're solving it are largely sought after for these days. And of course, for this, you need a strong understanding of marketing. And
Yes.
do you think these founders or business leaders need to have a strong grasp in marketing to succeed in their pitches?
Yes, definitely, Novish. I agree with that point. They definitely need a proper go through about what market target audience that they are having, what they're focusing at. Will that help in the growth? Will that be sustainable for a longer time? I definitely face this with every founder that we are dealing with. We are actually working good number of hours and letting them understand that okay, you're targeting this, but then you're asking for this. This is not the right thing, right? Focus is diverted, right? And then to make them understand and realize it's a tough thing. And yes, because founders are adamant towards not listening to most of the people, right? So that challenge is definitely there, but there are a lot of things have to be learned by the founders, because if you're going to an expert and if they are doing it, let them do it, otherwise don't go through it. Right, so
All
this
right.
is something a big thing, but yes, founders have to understand their target audience and we stick to it and just not focus 10 things at a time.
Okay. And you also mentioned that a good pitch is all about communications and what you convey, right? So do you think that having a great story attached to your brand or product and having good copywriting with powerful words filled with emotion helps make a pitch successful as well?
So copywriting, I won't agree with the copywriting, because even if the deck is in on a simplest way manner and expressing the emotions, that would work. You don't need jargons to express what you want, what you're doing, right? But yes, story is really really important to close that connection. But I'll tell you, if I'm myself a part of VCAT, venture catalyst. I've been through funding, and there are many more that have gone through funding. Ultimately, what matters is the execution of it, right? If I'm coming, I'm listening to your pitch, and I'm getting a confidence from you in your the way you communicate and build that connect with me, and your with your vision, that where you will take me or what will I get as a return, what you want to execute, that matters more. People actually keep it in a checklist. Okay, number one is the execution. Number two, it's the product or the service, because they know that business model can be revamped. The market can be, the product could be made ready later for the market, but ultimately, what you can do. So the story comes from the founder. So yes, for that communication, story is really important, aligned with the factual content. So yes.
All right. I actually specifically asked about the copywriting because I mean, I have a close friend that does literally the same thing as you. She has a company that really focuses on pitching, and the company name she has called it is Pitch Slap. So you spend 5 minutes with her, people come to her pitching about their business, and she slaps them in the face,
That's
finds mistakes.
the kind of engagement we guys have, no? We understand what they're going to pitch
Yeah,
in 15 minutes. Before 15 minutes, we'll tell them, okay, this is something where
true.
you need to work on, right? So
Yeah.
I could understand her ways.
Yeah, and I've sat with her on many of these interviews, and most of the time, what they actually are looking for from the investor point of view when they pitch to someone is that they get asked the question, so what is your marketing strategy going to be? How are you going to promote this product and get this initial awareness or this initial support that you're looking for, you know, the followers, the numbers? And they always say that yes, for this we require amazing emailing campaigns and all of these social media posts with great emotional attraction, you know, and which is why I thought okay, maybe this is could be required also in the initial pitch and not only in after the postscript, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, you've cleared that point for me, which is
Yeah.
great. And I'm gonna ask you some fun questions now,
Sure.
because I always like to know
I'm doing,
the
please.
psychology of a person when I'm talking with. And so one of the first question is that what's something that you think that everyone in your space should start doing that nobody's doing right now?
So I would say that we have recently started making video pitches, which is something still unique in the market.
Yeah.
So I would definitely not increase my competition for now, at least. But yes, video pitching is the future, where it's just not the pitching your deck thing, but also giving a proper demo of your products and services to the investors for a couple of minutes. So that is something which is not done so far, which we are doing it for VCAT, good fundable startups. We are aligned towards it. So that is something new.
That's great because it's also falls in the current trend. Videos are going skyrocket everywhere.
Yes, yes.
My second question, on a fun aspect, if you could, let's say, have a huge billboard or poster with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Okay. No. So I'm a very conservative person.
Yeah.
I'm the only person in the company who can be as much as as cost effective as much, right?
Yeah.
So I would definitely not have that heights. I am a jugadu. What is your word, jugad? If I know that if 100,000 leads are coming to ETP, out of that 70% are sheer organic. I'll not spend on marketing. So yeah, I don't
Okay.
think so I will be able to answer you for that. So I'm a very conservative person.
Okay. But what if this was free, completely free? What would you have on it? Like a picture, an image, some words?
Mm, I would say that what Nikhil, my co-founder, has taught me that risking capital risk is really important, right? If you manage that, your life is sorted. So no matter you
Okay.
run an organization or not, so take care of your capital, your risks and your capital. Things will be very well managed and sustainable.
All right. Fair enough. So, if you could have, let's say, dinner with any three people in the world, who would it be and why?
Number one, Gary V.
All right.
Number two would be what you say, Kunal Shah.
Mhm.
So, and number three would be um, there are very less of people that inspire me because I
Mhm.
gain energy from my own self most of the time.
All right.
I would say I would do it with Mark Zuckerberg by chance because I find it really towards, he's always towards bringing new things. So I want to discuss with him, what 10 things I can add on for you.
All right. Great. I mean, Gary V would also have been my first choice.
Yes, for any time.
Yeah. To finish off, I just have a last question. So, what three things would you advise or would you give as an advice to a business leader or to a business in general?
Great. So, see, according to me, for every business, the patience and persistence is really important, right?
Mhm.
If you, run after, things which are not your focus and you're not solving your problems on time, that will definitely harm you in future. So I believe that stay that patient, constant, persistent, and solve the problems right away rather than delaying them. So I think these are the important aspects to be sustainable, mostly as individual, as a
Okay.
founder, right? So that would be my message.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Priyanka. It's been quite enjoyable, actually. And your answers
Same
have
here,
been quite
Norman.
interesting.
Same here, same here.
Thanks. Over to you again, Anshuf.
Thank you so much, Navneesh and Priyanka. It was a lovely discussion which we had. So I think before I would request Sharmila to come in and kind of talk about accessibility and inclusion. Uh, I have one question from you, Priyanka, that you mentioned that you're constantly talking about finding out that unique idea or one thing which you can do and do it pretty fast. Now, what I've seen is working with almost 5,000 plus entrepreneurs by now. Personally, I've seen, talking to them, interviewing them, or listening to their pitches or things like that. What I've seen is the clarity is still missing. They
Yes.
start with saying that, okay, this is a big market. They understand all that thing. And then they start putting in things into that, okay, I can do this also, I can do this also, I can do this also, I can do this also. But somewhere they find it really challenging, and it comes a challenge to me as well sometimes. So when I am now planning to start my own $1 trillion skills bot, I am myself is finding very difficult that how do I justify the $1 trillion model with a very single unique idea. Now, how do you what when you your system works, because you've worked with thousands of pitches by now, right? How do you kind of bring that focus within the founders, and using your system eventually, which kind of brings it out to that one small idea which has a scaling of option and can really become $1 billion or $1 trillion business on its
Hmm. Yeah. So, giving answer to your question before that, I would say that anything we say are all assumption based. We are saying we'll make a $1 trillion company. It's again assumption
own,
until
right?
unless you prove it, right?
Right.
So when I say that, oh yes, people are working on 10 different things to scale up, that will definitely create a problem because the focus is not clear. Even investor would want that you earn little, but you stay focused and dedicated and give that returns what you're committing, right? No matter you are doing a small geographical area, you're covering your total addressable market. Doesn't matter. But if what you're committing, you need to do it, right? Execute that. So that matters, number one, along with the focus. Number two, when I am dealing with the pitches, trust me, there have been examples where people are raising 50 CR, making a very high valuation and asking 50 CR, and I'm sitting with them and bringing that number to 5 CR. That this is not, you're just saying it just vaguely, right? This is not what you need. What you need is too less, right? Why you want to dilute more and make it a burden for yourself, right? So these just justified clarities we have to give them to make them understand that what is right for you. But again, I'm saying everything is assumption in the end. If I'm drawing a roadmap for next 6 to 8 months, I will definitely focus on that 6 to 8 months rather than talking about, even though we need 5 year projections, definitely investors want to know, but they have to be more confident about first 2 years than the 5 years. If that first 2 years are good, then we are thinking about next 5 years, right? So when we create valuations that market growth, that scalability, we help them to give a logical number along with the reasoning with the market trend. So this is really important when you're pitching and you are showing a good big huge market, because it has to sound reasonable and logical with your facts and figures.
Okay. Now, let's say if somebody is, so you are saying you actually sit down with founders and make this clear. How do you kind of do this over a system, using your AI-based system? So does your system
Yeah.
does this kind of a validation or a check, or
Mhm.
gives those kind of information to the founders that, okay, you know what, you are actually evaluating your company little higher, or probably you are not clear with your idea is not clear, so you may need the more support, or you may need to modify that further. Does that your, I mean, is your software does that
Sure.
kind of job?
Sure. Yeah. So the software is not, so the what overall it is 70% is automated, 30% is still manual, right? So if you
Okay.
are a founder, you're bringing a spreadsheet made yourself. We have a scope where we are validating it and coming back to you to give a feedback. And there is altogether founder grooming a standalone service where we ensure that we are sitting one-on-one with the founders and solving their challenges and making them ready, because ultimately it's our success story that we are making any founder successful in their funding, right? So we ensure that by every aspect we are making them better. So yes, once they are using the tool, we are at the back end validating it and it's sitting with them to give them a better overview towards it.
Great, great. And are you also partnering with other organizations or incubators or accelerators to
Yes,
support on this
definitely.
pitch deck formation for them?
Yeah, of course. So this ecosystem goes hand in hand. No, this is a huge startup ecosystem. So if we want to cater more and more startup, these such collaborations to grow together are really important. So we are definitely partnered with more than 200 investors globally. A lot of accelerators and incubators, AIC, government, non-governmental. We are collaborated with them to totally align towards making the founders pitch ready in their institutions as well.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, Priyanka, for this lovely explanation. And I am sure Sharmila, would definitely have many questions about using it for the founders who are disabled, who are having some disability out there, but they can make huge businesses or great businesses out there. So Sharmila, why don't you kind of give a little introduction about yourself and ask out your questions to Priyanka. You are on mute.
Hi Priyanka, Sharmila Divitia here.
Hi, Sharmila.
I am co-founder at Bringers with Aisha since 2017. Our association goes back to 2013. We worked together in the same company at some point in time and reconnected in 2017. And then things began rolling.
Great.
A bit about myself. I am a survivor of encephalitis. That's a brain fever. It has left me with cerebral palsy, and I have a left hand that I can use a little bit, and a small issue with my speech. But beyond that, I don't find a problem physically. I do go for therapy on a daily basis to keep things oiled and running. And yes, I am at my desk, I think, which I love doing things. I have this one question from the point of accessibility and inclusion on the software, on the AI part. Have you instituted any accessibility or any inclusion in the software? Like if I'm one-handed, I use certain tools.
Yes.
Do you have closed captioning for the deaf, or do you have voice over for the blind? Anything on those lines?
Yes, Sharmila, definitely. Thank you for, first of all, thank you for asking this question. And you are definitely, you would be inspiration. You are an inspiration that you have gone through so much and doing so well. So yeah, Sharmila, definitely we have different accessibilities of the tools. As I just mentioned that we are bringing this video pitch also. So in that, if you're creating a pitch deck, you can put a voiceover, video clips, and whatnot when you're creating that demonstration or that presentation. We are definitely having those tools, and you are just not access to those tools. You are also being accessible to a lot of what do you say platforms that can help you to accelerate, which is just not pitching. But if you are a startup, you're an enterprise, you are needing support from like digital front or marketing front or from technology front like clouds, if you're needing someone from design, you're needing from legal compliances. So we have brought this credit system where you, if you're purchasing that subscription plan, you're getting good groomed credits worth depending upon your plan, like minimum like around 30,000 or 40,000 depending upon your stage, right? So we are bringing accessibility to a lot of things where one entrepreneur can use those things to grow to another level.
would you open to the to have a demo with us?
Sure.
I would love to have a demo
Yeah, of course, definitely.
because and the entire thing has hooked my imagination.
I
And
understand. I would be happy to give you that.
Great. I think, uh, uh, frankly, Priyanka, it was also my one of my question, which I think Sharmila has already asked for, that we would love to see your platform and probably spend some quality time on that.
Sure, sure,
I
sure.
have mentioned to you that we have got something called Design Your Unicorn methodology. This methodology is a five-stage methodology which helps businesses to transform their ideas to a $1 billion recurring income business model. Now, it's more about a process, it's more about the steps, what they need to do at every stage. And as I always tell, business owners or startup founders, that the first thing that you need to have is your business model, your business pitch deck. Now, business pitch deck does not mean that you have to have it only when you are raising investments.
Correct.
And revenues both has to go parallel, hand in hand. You cannot raise investments unless you prove the traction.
Correct.
You may not be profitable. Profitability is not the question out here. The question out here is how far your customers are loving you, how far they're coming back and taking your product. Like you started doing that free, but you started charging it. You might have
Yes,
started charging 500 rupees, 1000 rupees, 2000
yes,
rupees, and today
yes,
you are charging with the software as 4000. And maybe with manual intervention, you might be charging 40,000, 50,000. I really
yes,
don't know. I'm just giving a
yes,
example right now because that's how the market trend goes today.
yes.
But the point here is that it's going to be a very important for us to figure that out. And as I mentioned to you, that we also run our own incubation system and supporting our startups for growing or making them investable, sustainable, and then eventually profitable. So we just don't remain at a level of at a investable level or making a debt level, but we support them on also at a marketing angle, the technology, the finance angle. So there are various other aspects. So like you have the experts available with you, we also have a lot of experts who kinds of works in there. The only thing is what we focus upon is the process of it. What you need to do the first, what you need to do the second.
Yeah,
That is why we always say that there are four areas, seven pillars, and 105 factors which can make or break your business. There are
correct.
millions of combinations which can actually make it very difficult for you to be successful. And that's one of the reasons why only less than 0.1% of businesses are successful eventually. And if you talk about unicorns, we have very, very few handful of unicorns in India, especially. Now, with our vision 2020-2030, we are looking at transforming 1 billion lives, 1 million businesses, and 100 unicorns with an investment fund of $1 billion, focusing on three E's: education, employment, and entrepreneurship, and eventually working with businesses to generate so many jobs so that we can have a zero unemployment in the country. And we have more of employable youth who can be part of these companies or startups to really transform India as a self-sustainable $5 trillion economy. And of course, there is going to be another focus area for the children where we are working with them to make them future ready because that's 52% of the population which we have. And they are going to be the future in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So that's where we focus upon that. But I think one of the interesting segment we work with children also, and I think this is another question which may lead up to. Uh, we work with hundreds of children. These are like 7 years to 14 years or 15 years of age who are looking at developing their some business out of there. So I've met the child who is doing like 8 years, have published two books and now publishing another book. There are child who has got a patent at the age of 6 years with it on his name. There is a girl who is running a YouTube channel and having looking at bringing that, inspiring those young leaders and eventually setting up their own businesses because that's what her dream is. Now, what do you think that your software can help these children as well? Because these are very important aspects. And what you're talking about is the branding, the content, the marketing strategy, and bringing that into a very, very value proposition stage. So do you think that this software can really help these children as well and the youth who are, of course, youth, you are definitely helping them. But what about the children? Would they be able to understand the software a bit?
I feel that children nowadays, even it's not about just 14, 15 years of age, even below 10, they are smart enough that they're able to operate those smart tools, whether it's a phone, it's an app, it's a website. They're too smart, right? And if I talk about them using the software, I'm sure it will be like in clicks, they're coming on my dashboard and they're understanding what they want and where they want to go. So definitely it's totally accessible for the students also, because the trends are changed. There are many young entrepreneurs of this age that are coming up, and of course, as I said, this software is open for all. It is definitely not dependent on the age or limit, right? So I guess I believe that even the students would be able to access it really well because of their own intelligence.
Great. I think we will want to have a definitely a separate discussion and a demo, complete demo of this. And
Sure.
we'll be happy to collaborate working with you on this module. And Priyanka, this was really lovely interacting with you. If you have any questions from us, about our initiative, please feel free to ask those.
Definitely, I will definitely bring it offline. But I'm sure I gave away a justice here, giving answers, and hope you guys are satisfied with it. So that's all for me right now. But yes, thank you so much for having me.
So Priyanka, definitely it was a real good value add, and I could see the smiles on the faces of everybody out there, and that itself proves that. Now, one last message you would like to give it to the startup ecosystem or the founders, especially the early stage founders, who have so many great ideas, but they're unable to either generate the revenues or raise the investments funds for the company. What one message, one liner message you would want to give it to them?
As I said earlier to Movish also, so I have been mostly dealing with early stage startups in my life so far. So what is a challenging thing which I face with the early stage founders, that the consistency. If somebody is guiding you something, or even if you are coming starting up with something, you leave in between, or you don't continue, or you don't bring that much energy to go that long way. Because yes, startup doing a business is not easy. There have been many entrepreneurs that were without any money for many years till they started making revenue, but their consistency was there, their dedication was still there, even though they're struggling with their other lifestyle, right? So that kind of strength is very, very important if you're starting up. If you think that you cannot have that strength, or you won't have that much strength, or you will, your focus would be distracted with that strength, without that strength, I guess then startup is not for you. So I guess for every founder, my suggestion would be start something, stay dedicated to it for, of course, till you make revenue. Otherwise, if you lose the hope before, then the entrepreneurship was not for you.
Okay, great. I think before we close, just got this question in my mind, and I just wanted to shoot it out. So, is your platform is suiting to a particular language, which is English, or does it
Only
have
English. Only English.
uh,
Only.
only English? Are you planning to launch it in other languages like Hindi or maybe other regional languages?
Not yet, because this is a global platform. So we are focusing only one common language for India and globally. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Priyanka, and lovely talking to you. Thanks, Noblesh and
Thank you.
Sharmila, for
Thank
answering
you,
all
Sharmila.
the
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Great. So wish you all the very best, and I'm sure you are going to help India to become an Atmanirbhar Bharat with your easy to pitch,
That's all. Yeah.
what is it, the platform. And thank you so much for being there. And to all our viewers, keep bringing, keep growing.
Thank you so much, Anshu.